Thanks for coming back for the final part of this sequence. Here are the cheapest cars you can buy, part 3. Number 7. 2004 Pontiac GTO. Numerous muscle vehicles on the list thus far are from the infamous pollution period. On the other hand, the last generation Pontiac GTO, the 5th, is a real bruiser. The GTO, which shares foundations with the Holden Commodore Monaro in Australia, was one of Pontiac's final vehicles before it went out of business. But behind the surface, there is a real American muscle. The 5.7-liter LS1 V8 engine was standard on earlier models, while the 6.0-liter LS2 V8 was introduced in 2005. The GTO was able to reach 60 miles per hour, 97 kilometers an hour, in 5.7 to 4.8 seconds straight out of the box, thanks to both engines, which are renowned for their great tenability. The V-body platform served as a respectable foundation for the coupe, even if it was shared with less interesting cars such as the Cadillac Catera, known as the Opel Omega in Europe. Because some ardent muscle car aficionados were turned off by the rounded body form, decent specimens are reasonably priced. You won't believe the starting used price of this car. $10,100. Number 6. 1965 Plymouth Barracuda. With a starting used price of $10,400, this is how worthy this car is. Many fans of old cars contend that the Plymouth Barracuda was the first pony car to appear in America, as it debuted a few days ahead of the Ford Mustang in 1964. It had 3 engine options right out of the manufacturing line: 2.8, 3.7, and 4.5 liters, with the largest producing up to 180 horsepower. These vehicles may be quite expensive because they are vintage muscle cars, according to Haggerty. But if you watch the auctions, they might sell for as cheap as $6,325 in the past. When you said that a 273 V8 could create 180 horsepower, it was not a bad figure because the engines of the 1960s were not nearly as sophisticated and potent as they are now. As a matter of fact, the difference between it and the 1965 Mustang with the same engine, the 289, was barely noticeable. A quarter-mile drag race would take the Barracuda around 17.5 seconds to finish, and it could reach 60 miles per hour in 10.3 seconds. Number 5. 1974 Dodge Charger. A Dodge Charger is a must-have for any list of muscle vehicles, but you wouldn't think one would be reasonably priced. Fortunately, because it was built with either a basic slant 6 or a 318, the 1974 Dodge Charger is one of the years that is a bit less well known. Naturally, the car's possibilities extended to the formidable 400 large block with 250 horsepower, but unless you're lucky and discover one for a great price, that is outside the reach of our list of reasonably priced alternatives. It does not mean, however, that you cannot replace the 318 with a new one. One interesting thing about this car is how cheap it is. It has a starting used price of $10,700. Slightly less powerful than the large engine by 100 horsepower, the typical 318 beneath the hood of the 1974 Charger could nonetheless accelerate the vehicle from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 10.2 seconds. A quarter-mile time of up to 17.8 seconds was taken by the automobile with the tiny block, indicating its weight of 3,470 pounds on average. Fixing this essential if you want a real muscle vehicle. Number 4. 1969 Chevrolet Chevy 2 Nova. With a starting used price of $10,700. Here is what this car has to offer. The Nova was first offered as the top trim level for the tiny Chevy 2 in 1962. It came in a variety of body styles, including 2-door sedans, 4-door wagons, 2-door convertibles, and 2-door hardtops. A few enhanced variations were also available, some of which were only available with the Nova trim. Because of this, it was a very adaptable model that could compete with a variety of vehicles, including hot rods and family haulers. Even while the older versions had enough power to be enjoyable to drive, the addition of a 350 cubic inch V8 engine producing 295 horsepower cemented the vehicle's reputation as a muscle car. All the Nova could do was fall prey to fierce rivalry, both from inside and beyond. The muscle car market was particularly drawn to the early evolution of the midsize Chevelle. The Camaro, which debuted in 1966, also diverted buyers' attention from the compact Chevy 2 Nova, which would eventually drop the Chevy 2 moniker and fully embrace the compact muscle car identity as simply Nova in 1969. Furthermore, the Ford Falcon's strong sales figures made it more difficult for the Nova to overtake. Nevertheless, it did make it until 1988, albeit in those later years it lost its identity as a muscle vehicle. Number 3. 1975 Pontiac Grand Am. GM built more than simply the Pontiac Grand Am to expand its portfolio of muscle cars. It was actually designed to compete with the European luxury cars that were controlling much of the market share in the US. Because of this, the car had a bigger 455 engine and 2 different 400 engines when it came off the production line. It also had a sport-tuned suspension, comfortable bucket seats, and a high beam switch mounted on the steering wheel rather than the floor. Right now, the 1975 Grand Am is available for between $7,700 to $24,400, with recent bids bringing it close to $9,075. Due to rising insurance costs and the expense of gasoline, large block engines were becoming less and less popular by the middle of the 1970s, even among muscle car buyers. Not to add, all the large displacement engines were losing power because of stricter pollution laws. One such engine was the Big Block 400, which only generated 170 horsepower. The quarter-mile crawl of 18.4 seconds and the average of 11.5 seconds from 0 to 60 times may both be lowered though, since there is still space for development. Number 2. 1995 Chevrolet Impala SS. It may not seem like much more than a police car after a few years of use, but the 1995 Chevrolet Impala SS may look rather nice when fitted with some rims and painted in a unique way. It is recommended to leave the Chevy Impala SS as a full project vehicle unless money is not a problem, as these cars are regrettably no longer off the radar and can be slightly more expensive than the others. This car has a starting use price of $10,900. The problem is that the 350 V8 engine under the hood of the Impala SS has 260 horsepower already, and with a few Chevy 350 modifications, it may be developed into a beast and the largest sleeper vehicle in the area. The stock SS can accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 7.1 seconds and complete a quarter-mile run in 15.2 seconds, right off the manufacturing line. Number 1. 2006 Dodge Magnum SRT8. Finally, the last car on the list with a starting use price of $16,400. There's a common knowledge that the Chrysler 300 is a premium version of the Dodge Charger, and the two cars have a mechanical twinship. They have numerous parts and measurements in common, but they also have similar body types, including a powerful performance wagon version. Though it keeps all the features that make the Charger SRT8 and 300 SRT8 raw muscle machines, the Dodge wagon is marketed as the Magnum instead of the Charger. An identical 425 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque to the 300 SRT8 and Charger SRT8 of the same era are produced by the 6.1-liter Hemi V8, which predates the legendary Hellcat. The wagon, weighing close to 4,400 pounds, can accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just more than 5 seconds thanks to the standard 5-speed automatic transmission. Even though the Dodge Magnum's performance is undoubtedly its main selling feature, it's important to note that, as one might anticipate from a wagon of size, the spacious inside gives a very decent capacity for passengers and goods. Though its plain nature and minimalist design never let you down, the cabin's simplistic layout has sometimes come under fire for using inferior materials. Let's have your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for staying through till the end. Be a legend. Hit the subscribe button and don't forget to watch our previous videos.